Let us speak without illusion. For decades, India's economic ascent was presented to the world as a miracle enabled by the West, a glittering partnership of technology transfers, trade pacts, and dollar diplomacy. But this narrative was a lie. The truth is far more brutal. India's growth came at the price of sovereignty. Every loan, every trade agreement, every whispered IMF condition was a leash dressed in the language of development, tied not to India's future, but to Western interests. Dependency is not always obvious. It masquerades as cooperation. It hides behind words like liberalization, global integration, FDI. But behind these euphemisms lies a system designed to keep one player in the lead and the other forever catching up. India became a marketplace, not a manufacturer, a consumer, not a competitor. We exported raw potential and imported finished dominance. Our software engineers built their empires. Our data fueled their AI. Our compliance empowered their control. But now something is cracking, and what you're feeling is not economic instability, it's liberation pain. India is pulling out of this game not because it is weak, but because it is done being used. This is not economic suicide. This is economic surgery. When a body is infected, you don't negotiate with the virus, you remove it. De-dollarization is not a slogan, it's a survival mechanism. Every time the Reserve Bank of India shifts trade settlements away from the dollar, it is rewriting decades of colonial residue in financial form. Every time we choose ruble or rupee, yuan over the dollar, we are not rejecting America. We are reclaiming our autonomy. Do not misunderstand this as nationalism. It is self-respect weaponized with statistics. Look at the logic. The West exports inflation when it prints money. That inflation does not stay in Washington. It lands in Mumbai, in Bengaluru, in the stomachs of the poor who pay double for their daily bread. And while the Fed adjusts rates for Wall Street, the ripple drowns a farmer in Punjab. This is not theoretical. This is theft in real time. India is cutting these ties not because it hates the West, but because it refuses to bleed for it anymore. And now, India is not begging for technology, it's building it. The digital rupee isn't just a payment method, it's a declaration of independence. The semiconductor missions aren't just about chips, they are about no longer being one. Every state-backed infrastructure push, every Make in India revival, every BRICS financial experiment is a blow to the illusion that India needs the West to stand. But remember, severing a lifeline only makes sense if you're confident you can swim, and India can. Our youth population is not just a demographic, it is a loaded chamber. Our startup ecosystem is not just vibrant, it is volatile. Our data reserves are not just big, they are strategic weapons in the AI age. This is not hope, it is hard math. And the numbers say, India no longer has to rent its future. Make no mistake, the path ahead will be brutal. Cutting economic ties is like cutting nerve endings. You feel it in every industry, every stock market tremor, every knee-jerk reaction from Western media calling it reckless or populist. But that's the language of the addicted, not the free, because what is truly reckless is continuing to serve a system built to ensure you never surpass your master. India has decided it will no longer be lectured by nations whose empires were built on plunder. We will not be warned by debt pushers pretending to be allies. We are not isolating ourselves, we are isolating dependency. We are not turning our backs, we are turning a corner. This is the beginning of something irreversible, an India that stands not on borrowed capital, but on blood, grit, and unshakable self-direction. A nation that remembers its history, sees clearly through the present, and is ready to detonate the illusions that have kept it in line. This is not rebellion, this is resurrection, and it has already begun. It's time to rip the romanticism out of geopolitics. This isn't about alliances of brotherhood. This isn't about shared values, ancient bonds, or hollow UN speeches about cooperation. No, this new triangle, Russia, China, and India, is not bound by emotion, it is bound by need, and in international relations, need is more powerful than history, stronger than ideology, more durable than democracy. Let's begin with the myth, the idea that India's interests are fundamentally misaligned with those of China and Russia. This is the lie America has sold the world, and perhaps even tried to sell to us, that India is the West's natural partner in Asia, that we are the counterbalance to Chinese authoritarianism, that we belong in the democratic club. But in reality, India was never invited to the high table, it was asked to serve it. We were expected to toe the line, contain China, isolate Russia, and pretend we didn't notice the West's silent sabotage of our own rise. But now, we are rewriting that narrative not with protest, but with power. Let's talk pragmatism. Russia is energy, defense, and a historical partner that's never wavered during India's hour of need. When the West sanctioned us with silence in 1971, Moscow stood by us like bedrock. And now, as India imports record levels of discounted Russian crude, it isn't just saving billions, it's building a financial firewall against Western coercion. We didn't defy the West, we asterisk out, calculated asterisk it, we turned their sanctions into our surplus, now to China. Yes, the tensions are real, the border is volatile, but in the age of global AI, lithium, semiconductors, and trade corridors, rivalry does not mean rejection. Look at the logic. China doesn't need to love India to do business with India, and India doesn't need to trust China to profit from China. This isn't friendship, it's friction, forged realism, a cold, sharp calculation that says, economic interdependence is more potent than any diplomatic slogan. Railways, roads, chips, rare earths, these aren't conversations, they're weapons, and the only sin is not using them. Here's the brutal truth. The Western world wants to control India's behavior by offering inclusion. But Russia and China, they offer transaction. The West says, be like us and we'll let you in. The new Axis says, be who you are, just bring value to the table. That's the difference. The West demands transformation. The East demands competence. And India, after 75 years of compromise, is done pretending it needs validation from the same hands that once looted it. And now, India plays all sides but no longer plays by anyone's rules. We buy Russian oil, engage in BRICS digital currency talks, negotiate defense systems on our terms, and still remain an open market. This isn't betrayal of the West, it's balance of the future. In a world shattering into multipolar spheres, India isn't picking a side. It's building one. This new triangle isn't a club. It's a cartel of necessity. India brings scale. China brings speed. Russia brings strength. Together, they don't chant slogans. They shift supply chains, break dollar monopolies, and redraw the economic map. This isn't diplomacy. It's architecture, cold, calculated, unstoppable. And here's what shocks the Western elite the most, they can't stop it. Because for the first time, India doesn't need their permission. We don't need IMF loans. We don't need Pentagon approval. We don't need Wall Street's applause. We are building an economic order where compliance is not the currency, capacity is. Some say this alliance is temporary. Maybe, but the results won't be. A BRICS digital currency, already in motion. A payment system outside SWIFT under construction, trade settlements in local currencies growing by the month. What we are witnessing is not a reaction, it's a replacement, quiet, rational, and irreversible. India is no longer playing the loyal student in a Western lecture hall. We are designing our own syllabus with our own collaborators, ones who do not dictate our values or our votes. We are done choosing between East and West. We are becoming the asterisk fulcrum asterisk on which the new world turns. This is not fantasy. This is not rebellion. This is strategy at its coldest, boldest, and most brilliant. And those who fail to see it will be swallowed by it. There's a lie buried so deep in the global consciousness that most people accept it as reality, that American dominance is permanent, inevitable, and even moral. That the U.S. leads not because it imposes, but because it inspires, that the rules-based international order is some holy scripture of peace and prosperity, rather than what it actually is, a structure of power built to preserve advantage. But what happens when the world's largest democracy stops believing in that illusion? What happens when India, 4 billion strong, walks away from the script? We are watching it happen, quietly, but unmistakably. America still expects obedience from its partners. But India has chosen alignment on interest, not allegiance to ideology. This isn't betrayal, it's adulthood. Let's be clear, America did not become a superpower by accident. It became one through dominance of currency, culture, military reach, and media narrative. It writes the sanctions, dictates the treaties, controls the funding bodies, and lectures others while exempting itself. And for years, India was expected to comply not fully, but just enough to stay on a leash long enough for the leash to feel like freedom. But something has changed. India has stopped playing the apprentice. We are not here to protect America's place in Asia. We are here to define our own. The tipping point was not dramatic. It was strategic. It came in layers. America's transactional behavior during vaccine diplomacy. Its silence during regional crises that mattered to India. Its overt pressure to condemn Russia while it still buys energy from autocrats when it suits them. It came with the hypocrisy of preaching climate responsibility while hoarding emissions. It came with the realization that in a world supposedly ruled by moral clarity, those who shout the loudest often hide the most. India saw it and chose distance, not hostility, but boundaries, and that's what terrifies Washington more than any protest, an ally that doesn't obey, doesn't need, and doesn't flinch. Watch how the West reacts when India doesn't vote their way in the UN. Watch the media tone shift when India trades in rupees with Moscow. Observe the subtle threats, the think tank commentaries, the concerns about democracy, as if the world's most vibrant, chaotic, living democracy needs moral audits from countries with far bloodier legacies. It's not about values, it's about control dressed as concern. And here's the heart of the matter. America is no longer the center of gravity. It's one pole among many. It still has power, but no longer the monopoly on it. And India is emerging not as a follower of the old empire, but as a sculptor of the new world. This isn't anti-Americanism. This is pro-sovereignty. India will work with America, but not under it. Not as a junior partner, not as the polite guest at a table where the menu is already set. India will work with Washington, but only when the terms serve mutual respect, not silent subordination. The old world was simple. Follow the West, and you'll be rewarded with access, loans, and security umbrellas. But now India has its own economy, its own markets, its own ambitions, and it does not need to be invited to the global stage. It is the stage. The shift is psychological, and psychological shifts are the deepest, most dangerous kind. America's policymakers still haven't understood it fully. They are playing 1990s diplomacy in a 2025 world. Still dangling partnerships like prizes, still expecting applause for offers India no longer needs, still calling this boldness aggression or nationalism instead of what it actually is, evolution. India is no longer the recipient. India is the architect, and in this new blueprint, no country, no matter how powerful, is above reciprocity. We are done apologizing for choosing our own interests, done being flattered into compliance, Done being guilt, tripped by those who sell weapons to dictators and then lecture democracies about values. India is not anti-West, but it is post-Western, and that difference is the fault line upon which the next century will be built. Let them call it risky, let them call it defiance, let them misunderstand it, because what's rising from this reorientation is not just a new India, it is a new logic. One where power isn't begged for but built, one where loyalty isn't traded for favors, one where dominance is not the default and obedience is not the cost of admission. America is no longer the sun, it is a star, still burning but not alone, and India is not in orbit. We are launching our own system. History doesn't whisper when it turns, it roars. And right now, if you're quiet enough to really listen, you can hear the scream of a dying unipolar world. The old order, where one superpower dictated the direction, one currency ruled all trade, one military decided who lived and who didn't, is fracturing. The global pyramid is collapsing into a round table, and at that table, India is not waiting for an invitation. India is carving out its seat with steel in its hands and fire in its eyes. Let's destroy the delusion first. Multipolarity isn't a dream. It's already here, but most people are still looking at the world through the rear-view mirror. They're seeing 1991, when the Cold War ended and assumed forever that the United States would remain the singular axis of power. But the Cold War didn't end in peace, it ended in monopoly, and monopolies by nature rot. China didn't ask permission to rise. Russia didn't wait for approval to reassert. Africa is trading sovereignty for strength. Latin America is questioning the dollar. And now India, the world's largest democracy, fastest growing major economy, and most culturally complex civilization, is stepping forward. But not to support the new world order, to shape it. India's power is not rooted in conquest, it's rooted in civilization. 5,000 years of statecraft, strategy, philosophy, resilience, compressed into one relentless republic. We don't need to copy the West. We've survived empires that the West has forgotten. We don't need to prove our credibility. We are older than their constitutions and wiser than their treaties. And now the globe is realigning not through war, but through economics, logistics, and digital infrastructure. In this new great game, dominance doesn't come from aircraft carriers. It comes from choke points, trade routes, semiconductor supply chains, digital currencies, and data sovereignty. And on every front, India is moving deliberately, aggressively, unapologetically. We are building ports in the Indian Ocean. Not as mere trade hubs, but as geopolitical levers. We are linking with Central Asia through new corridors that bypass Western, controlled bottlenecks. We are turning BRICS from a symbolic acronym into a functioning alternative power bloc, with its own banks, its own rules, its own financial arteries. We are shifting trade from the dollar to the rupee, not as rebellion, but as recalibration. Let's be brutally honest. The global table was never set for India. We were always served last, sometimes not at all. But now, we bring too much to be ignored. Our demographics are unmatched. Our data is a goldmine, our geography is strategic, our military is maturing, and our economy, it's not booming, it's breaking into the top 3. This isn't an emotional claim, it's an algorithmic certainty. The multipolar world is not a hope, it's an inevitability. The US can no longer police the planet, the EU can no longer pay its way through influence, and China alone cannot dominate without resistance. In this vacuum of certainty, India becomes the stabilizer, not a junior partner, not a sidekick, a pillar. And here's the key, we are not siding with power blocks, we are redefining what power looks like. Because for the first time in modern history, India is neither colonized nor co-opted. We are free, and freedom is a geopolitical anomaly. Most powers are either beholden to allies or burdened by enemies. India is beholden to no one and burdened by no fear. That's why global leaders now don't ask what India thinks . They ask what India asterisk will do asterisk. That's why trade blocs wait for India's participation before launching initiatives. That's why the IMF and World Bank are scrambling to stay relevant, while India partners with Asia, Africa, and South America without preaching, without puppeteering. This new world is not about who can shout the loudest. It's about who can build the fastest, think the longest, and move the smartest. And India is emerging as the bridge between the old order and the coming chaos, not because it wants to dominate, but because it cannot afford to be dominated again. So, don't be fooled by the language of diplomacy. Power is not about chairs at some. It's about who shapes the agenda. And India, we are not here to sit beside anyone's throne. We are here to forge a circle where no one kneels and no one commands. The world is no longer vertical, it's becoming horizontal, and India is not asking for a position, it's declaring it. Let's stop pretending this path is safe. It's not. This is not a polite adjustment of foreign policy. It is a asterisk surgical disconnection asterisk from a system designed to keep India dependent, compliant, and fragmented. Breaking ties with a global superpower, moving closer to historic rivals, betting on a multipolar future, this is not a diplomatic dance. It is a high-voltage, high-risk recalibration of India's place in the world, and yes, there are consequences. But here's the truth, the asterisk greater asterisk risk is doing nothing, because if India doesn't move now, it becomes permanently trapped in a system that was never built for it to lead. It will remain the world's factory, but never its boardroom. It will serve everyone else's supply chains, but never own the routes. It will vote in multilateral forums, but never write the rules. If we don't make the leap, we become the bridge others walk over. Yes, the risks are real. The West will retaliate not with war, but with asterisk leverage asterisk through trade restrictions, subtle sanctions, currency manipulation, and narrative warfare. They will call India unstable, nationalistic, anti-democratic. The media think tanks will ignite. The economic forecasts will darken, markets may rattle, investments may pause, allies may waver, but here's what they won't say out loud. They are not afraid of India collapsing. They are afraid of India succeeding asterisk without them asterisk. Because if India proves that it can build an independent, sovereign economic model while pivoting toward a non-Western axis, if it shows the global South that autonomy is possible without Western aid, if it builds corridors of trade that bypass American approval, it will detonate the myth of indispensability. The myth that you cannot rise unless you kneel first. That is the real threat. And here's the emotional core of this entire shift. India is not reacting from resentment. India is rising from asterisk remembrance asterisk. Remembrance of centuries of foreign rule where trade was controlled, voices silenced, and futures bartered away. Remembrance of a post-independence era where we opened our markets too fast, trusted too many, and waited too long for the respect we were promised. No more, this shift is not about economics alone. It is about asterisk identity asterisk. It is about the right to chart your future without being punished for it. It is about not having to explain your survival to those who once profited from your suffering. It is about breaking the habit of seeking approval from powers whose prosperity was built on your submission. And above all, this is about asterisk leadership asterisk, because what kind of leader waits for permission? What kind of future is built by followers? If India wants to lead, truly lead, it must first risk standing alone, even if temporarily, because no civilization has ever ascended without first enduring isolation. The West didn't rise by consensus, it rose by force. China didn't rise by permission, it rose by plan. And now it's India's turn, not to imitate, but to asterisk initiate asterisk. There is no safe revolution. There is no polite detachment from empire. There is no low-risk path to sovereignty. But there is one truth more powerful than all the risks combined, Asterisk asterisk India cannot afford to remain anyone's junior partner. Asterisk asterisk we stand now on the edge of history, not as spectators but as authors. And the pen is heavy, but if we drop it, someone else will write the next century for us, and they will not write us as the hero. So yes, there are risks, but look deeper. The real risk is missing this window, this once-in-a-generation window where history is volatile, power is fluid, and for the first time in 300 years, India holds enough cards to redefine the game. Now is not the time to hesitate. Now is not the time to soften. Now is the time to act with the confidence of a civilization that has asterisk survived everything asterisk, and now has a chance to asterisk shape everything asterisk. We are not retreating from the world. We are rising beyond its old rules. This is not rebellion. This is rebirth. And it is irreversible.